We will now move into the next session for this webinar, which is on overview of ITU and the ICODE initiative. So I'll invite Madam Okuda to present an overview of ITU and engagement models. Madam Okuda, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bindu, and thank you very much, Dr. Vivek, as well as Mr. Babu. The presentation was excellent, and I hope that we can discuss perhaps the way forward and how ITU's work can support India's tax efforts, and perhaps share the good practices throughout the region and beyond. So I'm delighted to present the overview of ITU's work and where we believe the digital innovation could be useful. Thank you. Would you be able to present? Thank you. So for those participants who may not know ITU intimately, we have a few slides to explain what we do and where our regional office covers. Next slide, please. So ITU is the, in fact, oldest United Nations agency and specialized for information and communication technologies, ICT. Next slide, please. And we have three sectors. One is the radio communication. As some of you may know, we coordinate the radio frequency spectrum and assigning the orbital slot for satellites. We also have a standardization, as Madam Pamara and Ms. Bindu discussed earlier. And finally, we have a development sector which focuses on bridging the digital divide. And we have 193 member states, as well as the ITU members from academia and industry, in total about 900. And we will talk more about the membership at the end of my presentation. Next slide, please. And our headquarters is located in Geneva, but we have 6 regional offices. In Asia and the Pacific, the headquarters of the regional office is in Bangkok, but we have a regional office, the area office in Jakarta, and we have also project staff in other locations as well. And this slide just shows the overview of the geographical presence of ITU. Next slide, please. And in terms of the mandate, our global agenda is called Connect 2030. We are committed to connecting the world, and which means that to address the digital divide, we have heard quite frequently, and it is a global vision for the development of telecommunication ICT sector around the 5 pillars of growth. We believe that the industry has a very important role to play, and inclusiveness. We would like to make sure that the vulnerable groups and people in remote areas also will be able to enjoy the benefits of digital technology and connectivity, as well as the sustainability and innovation and partnership. So our work designed around these 5 pillars of ITU's mandate. Next slide, please. Now, I would like to talk about the current context of COVID-19 and what kind of impact it has on us promoting the ICT connectivity. And these figures are found, the details of the figures are found in the publication listed below, and we'll be happy to share more if there are interested participants on them. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, we see a tremendous and unparalleled growth in ICT access and usage because of the shift to digital platforms globally. And as you see, these are all plus in terms of the fixed broadband subscription mobile broadband subscription, we see a tremendous growth unparalleled from the past, as well as the individual using the internet and the mobile network coverage. I will not go one by one, but I just want to highlight that we see a tremendous growth all across. However, not everything is positive. We still believe that there are gaps, persistent challenges that we have to address in Asia and the Pacific. Next slide, please. So this slide highlights some of the salient points in Asia and the Pacific that we can see. On the left-hand side, as I mentioned earlier, the cellular coverage has been quite universal, that a majority of the territories or land covered already by the network. However, on the right-hand side, we still see the persistent inequalities between rural and urban areas, men and women, as well as generational, between the older generation and youth. And we believe that unless we look at these specific divides, we will not be able to connect everyone by 2030. So based on these statistics, as well as the demand from member countries, we design our regional offices work around 10 thematic priorities. Next slide, please. Before we go into the 10 thematic priorities and details, I just also want to highlight that ITU has a specific initiatives to address the COVID-19 pandemics. As you may know, we work with the Broadband Commission as well as World Bank GSMA, and we have a specific program called Connect to Recover. And we hope that these initiatives will enhance the reliable and trustworthy digital services for all, as well as to help us leverage ICT to mitigate and to address the negative consequences of COVID on society and economy. And if there's any participant interested to know more about these initiatives, we'll be happy to provide the details. Next slide, please. So coming back to the 10 thematic priorities, we believe that these 10 will be able to address the most pertinent and important aspects of connecting the unconnected. And as you see, digital inclusion and digital innovation ecosystems are some of the key pillars of what we do in Asia and the Pacific. Next slide, please. I have a slide that highlights and summarizes the work along the 10 thematic priorities. For example, network and digital infrastructure is the perhaps one of the bread and butters of ITU's work. And as you may have seen, ITU maintains the transmission map, which present online real-time the fiber optics cable as well as submarine cables to show where and how countries and communities are connected. This is available online as for those interested participants, and together with this map, we have different tools to help connect the remote and rural communities, as well as to enhance the resilient ICT and digital infrastructure and ecosystem for all 38 countries in Asia and the Pacific. So some of the tools are highlighted on this slide, and I believe that the last mile connectivity guidelines are among the handouts which are posted. But we'll be happy to share any other tools that may be useful for the participants. Next slide, please. In terms of the cybersecurity, we have five-pronged approach. The first one is to increase the incident response capabilities of member countries through the third assessment, design and implementation and enhancement. For this purpose, as you may know, ITU conducts the global as well as regional cyber drills. In the next actually coming months, we will have global and regional and interregional cyber drills planned already. So I hope that many participants of this forum will be able to participate and benefit from such initiatives. Additionally, we have a cybersecurity engagement and awareness raising. As you may have seen, we have a global cybersecurity index report, which was published at the end of June, and that highlights which countries have the highest commitments and different types of engagement necessary for the cybersecurity. And I hope that this report findings are also useful to strengthen the national cybersecurity measures and a posture across Asia and the Pacific. And third, we conduct the cybersecurity capacity development and training, and which includes the child online protection that I will talk more later. And we also support the policy and governance, as well as the development of strategies, which is related to the national cybersecurity posture, number 4 pillars. And as I mentioned, online safety for children and youth is something that we take seriously, and we have conducted training and awareness raising in Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, and we are planning a similar training session in Pakistan in 2 weeks, and we'll be happy to share more of these information with the participants. Next slide, please. So emergency telecommunication is one of the key solutions and support that ITU provides to make sure that when the countries are hit by natural disasters, the emergency telecommunication capabilities are in place. And in fact, ITU implemented a project in the Pacific to establish the satellite communication ground stations, and that was found extremely useful when Cyclone Harold hit last year. And additionally, we support with the national emergency telecommunication policies and strategies. As you may see on the screen, based on these toolkits and guidelines. Next slide, please. And additionally, policy and regulation are some of the key component of ITU support in Asia and the Pacific. And some of you may have seen, we have developed and maintaining the ICT regulatory tracker to monitor the progress and development of the regulatory frameworks as well as the policy. And that is the basis for the country card. Some of the countries are using this to develop different and dedicated policy measures. And we hope that this cross-sectoral and collaborative frameworks will be useful for facilitating digital market development, as well as supporting economic growth, provides transparency and reliability for operators, and to enhance the user well-being. Next slide, please. In terms of the digital innovation ecosystem, the objective is to accelerate the digital innovation supported with the enabling ecosystem that will accelerate the digital transformation. And focus areas are to build stakeholders' capacities, capabilities, scaling up the entrepreneurship, and the accurate diagnosis, as well as to accelerate the initiatives to achieve the impact. I will not go deep into this slide because I have my colleague Alex who will talk about iCODI after this presentation, and will be happy to present the concrete initiatives and proposals that ITU has for on this topic. Next slide, please. And additionally, ITU has different platforms and specific initiatives to develop capacities of ICT professionals as well as government officials. As some of you may have seen, we have an ITU Academy which provides online courses of different topics, as well as the Center of Excellence with 6 institutes, as you may see on the slide, so that we provide the entry-level capacity development to more advanced specialized ICT skills and capacity development trainings. I just want to highlight that Asia and the Pacific has 3 digital transformation centers established in collaboration with Cisco in the Philippines, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea. And these centers are providing training of trainers so that these trainers or trainers will be able to train more broad-based capacity development in the country. And they have been quite popular and well appreciated in the countries. We opened the applications for the second round of Digital Transformation Center, and for those interested institutes, the application period is still open. So I hope that we will receive a number of applications to establish the Digital Transformation Center. Next slide, please. And these activities are supported by ITU data and statistics. And I wish to highlight that we have different online tools as well as the guidelines available. And as you may see on the screen, we have ITUI, which presents the national level statistics comparable across all countries, as well as the price index, which are quite indicative and important for policymaking and regulation. Next slide, please. And additionally, the topic of ADHA and the services are particularly relevant to our work on digital government. Especially in the middle, as you see on the slide, we are supporting the development of digital government policies and strategies, as well as sectoral initiatives such as e-agriculture, e-health, and e-education in such initiatives as GIGA, school connectivity. So our approach is the whole of government approach, starting from SDGs, to translate that into digital government platforms, as well as the services that then will provide the connectivity and access to services through smart village, smart island, and smart cities. So we believe that each step is important, and hope that the initiatives such as ADHA will be particularly important to enhance the middle part of a digital government, which will be translated into the people's access on the right-hand side. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, ITU also implements different initiatives targeting at different constituents and the beneficiaries, such as women, through the equals, as well as girls in ICT celebrations. And for people with disabilities, we have different toolkits. And for the youth, we have Generation Connect, Asia and the Pacific. We have 26 youth representatives and champions who are working with us to promote ITU's work, as well as the importance of digital technology in sustainable development. And I will talk more about child online protection in separate slides. And these tools are available on our websites. Next slide, please. And in addition to what I mentioned earlier, we believe that how to take care of the e-waste in Asia and the Pacific is particularly important now that more people are coming to the cyberspace, and there are more devices and appliances that are being purchased and used in the region and in a massive number. And we believe that how to create a circular economy and make sure that the discarded devices are not left unattended and untreated will be a priority. So we have a separate thematic priority on e-waste, which will support the policy work as well as connectivity and the digital applications of ITU's work. Next slide, please. And finally, we believe that there are more children coming to the cyberspace, especially through e-learning and different initiatives which have been implemented due to COVID-19. So how to protect children and how to ensure their safety would be is becoming a priority of ITU's work. And as you may see on the slide, 10 years after the first publication, we updated the COVID, COP, the Child Online Protection Guidelines, and we made it easier to accept, and we took into account different requirements such as the children with disabilities, and we also took into account the new technological developments. And these guidelines are meant for policymakers, industry, parents, and educators, as well as children. And I'm delighted to share with you that this the video program of Sango has been quite popular, and there are requests from member countries to translate these Sango videos, which are available on YouTube, into local languages. And more information is available on the URL listed on the slide. Next slide, please. So let us move on to the engagement modalities and our ITU membership. Next slide, please. As you know, ITU has a unique membership structure, which involves the industry as well as academia. And at the moment, alongside the 193 member countries, we have around 900 companies, universities, and international and regional organizations, comprising over 20,000 tech leaders and experts. And the ITU members from industry and academia work together with the government and regional and international organizations to shape the future of ICT development. And by doing so, the members have the opportunity to influence the decisions, and that will be that can create a win-win situation among governments, industry, and academia, and to benefit the broader economy and society. Next slide, please. Okay, would you be able to show the video? If that can be projected full screen, that would be great. On the left-hand side, that's a video.
Sorry, there is no button to play.
Okay, fine, thank you. I hope that we'll be able to share the video at some point. So this is a bit more details on how companies can join as one or more sector members of ITU. Perhaps I can share the slide with you, but let us just highlight that academia can also join the three sectors with a special discount, which we have a fee structure, but perhaps we can share with the interested parties. Currently, members includes the 8 from India, including the Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad, and National Law University of Delhi, and 24 from China, as well as 9 from Japan, and many more others. So we hope that these entry point of engagement from industry and academia will be useful for this discussion, because I believe that the digital innovation will not be possible without the active engagement of the companies, industry, as well as academia. And I hope that this will be useful for our future activities together with India Stack. Next slide, please. So, so what's the benefit of becoming a member? As you know, ITU has study groups which discusses the video communication as well as standardization and development. And these study groups play an important and influential roles in the development of ICT for development. And I hope that more members can join so that they can participate in the debates and of the study groups, as you may see on the screen. Next slide, please. Additional benefits of becoming a member is to network with companies and academia which are leading in their own respective areas globally and regionally, as well as contribute to the discussion in study groups and the international promotion, because there will be opportunities to participate in ITU's seminars as well as knowledge and learning. And I believe that these modalities are quite useful for membership from developing countries, especially in Asia and the Pacific, which have interesting digital innovations to share. And more information is available on the URL of this on this slide. Next slide, please. So the final few slides focus on what's next. What are the upcoming activities? As I mentioned, we plan the Global 2022, 2021 cyber drills, and the next series include the interregional meeting between Asia and the Pacific and Central Asia. And we have global webinars as well as training sessions associated with the cyber drills. And I hope that many participants can join and benefit from the series of cybersecurity initiatives of ITU. Next slide, please. And additionally, as I mentioned earlier, ITU Centers of Excellence for Asia and the Pacific provides specialized training for professionals, including on the IoT and 5G in AI smart cities, and the QR code for registration are available on this slide. That is organized from 13th to 24th September this year, very soon. Next slide, please. As well as on the topic of IoT solutions for smart agriculture from 20 September to 1st of October. Next slide, please. And on ubiquitous broadband for future generation from 27th September to 8th of October. Next slide, please. As well as the World Telecommunication Standardization Assembly that I mentioned earlier, which is planned in Hyderabad in 2022, as well as, next slide please, which is the World Telecommunications Development Conference in June 2022 to be held in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. And I believe that these international conferences are important for Asia and the Pacific to influence the course of ICT development and to also learn from each other within the region as well as across. And I hope that many of you will be able to participate in these conferences and deliberation processes. So thank you very much for your attention. More information will be available on the website as well as on our social media, and the QR codes are available on this slide. So thank you. Back to you, Ms. Bindu.
Thank you very much, Ms. Okuda, for that very, very comprehensive overview of ITU, what it does, what are the publications, the initiatives, as well as the engagement models and upcoming events, especially the trainings. I'm sure the attendees would be able to derive benefit from these, and there would be some follow-on requests for engagement with you. TSTSI will be very happy to assist to facilitate these interactions for stakeholders from India with ITU, and we will be talking to ITU. We are in talks with ITU on how to enhance our membership at ITU for a sector membership already through the Department of Telecommunications. So we look forward to a deeper engagement with ITU. I now request Mr. Alex Wong to give us an overview of the new initiative from ITU called the ITU International Center of Digital Innovation. Mr. Wong is a Chief Special Initiatives at the Telecommunications Development Bureau, BDT, in the ITU. In this role, he directs special BDT-wide programs and projects, including the GIGA, which is co-led with UNICEF, with an aim to connect every school to the internet, Connect to Recover, which ensuring countries have robust and resilient ICT infrastructure to support recovery from the COVID-19 and other crises, and most recently the ICODI. So over to you, Mr. Wong.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm based in Geneva in our headquarters. So my apologies with the morning sun. I'm trying to find a place where the sun doesn't shine on my eyes. But in the meantime, I wanted to take this opportunity to share more about ICODI. So first of all, thank you to our hosts, TSDSI. Mr. Babu, it's a pleasure to see you again as well. And thank you, Atsuko, for this opportunity. So I would like to start actually with playing a video to give an introduction of ICODI, and then I will present some slides to provide a little more context. So if we can start with the video, please.
Innovation is key to our future. It's about taking risks and not being afraid of trying something new. In the spirit of driving innovation at a global scale, ITU, with the support of the UAE Telecommunications Regulatory Authority, is establishing ICODI, the International Centre of Digital Innovation, to develop community-driven digital-based solutions to real-life challenges.
There is a growing digital innovation divide. Through ICODI, we want to provide a safe space for members and stakeholders to develop innovative strategies that accelerate digital transformation and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals.
We need to establish a culture of digital innovation, and we need this culture to be integrated with the national development agendas and activities. From our experience, digital innovation must be a top priority for every nation.
ICODI identifies, supports and accelerates ITU products and services that enable societies to achieve meaningful connectivity. Our goal is to bring together partners from multiple sectors, together with member states, to create networks of expertise through which innovative products, services and systems can be developed, brought to market and scaled up for impact. Through ICODI, we aim to achieve faster and everlasting results in the field of ICT for development. Innovation comes in cycles, and innovation never stops. Things are happening at ITU, and today we invite you to get connected, try new ideas, do things differently, and to join ICODI.
So it's a particular pleasure to present on the occasion of this forum because Asia Pacific is a region where innovation has been happening so quickly. There's so many new ideas and emerging technologies. It's very appropriate that we're having the opportunity to present to you the ICODI and how it could work in the Asia Pacific region. A reminder, I'll refer back to Atsuko's presentation, why is the ITU launching the International Center of Digital Innovation? It's part of our core strategy as the ITU, as mandated by the member states. Atsuko referred to the Connect 2030 agenda, and this is in fact goal 4. Innovation itself is one of our goals within the Connect 2030 innovation, and how can we leverage telecoms and ICT in support of the digital transformation of society. And I would like to recognize the UAE, who is mentioned in the video, as helping us with the design phase of iCODI, where we were able to leverage some of the experiences that they have gone through with their center of digital innovation that is based in the UAE. So where are we now? If we can go to the next slide. We completed the design phase of iCODI late last year and have been running some use cases over the course of 2021, and we're very eager on how iCODI can now roll out into the various regions. The core value of iCODI is based on the core value of the ITU, of being an impartial and neutral platform that can leverage and bring together all the partners and members that are engaged with the ITU, as per the ITU membership community that Atsuko just presented. We go to the next slide. We can think of iCODI as having 2 tracks or 2 types of innovation challenges. The first is a track that right now is focused internally on the ITU, where we are using the iCODI platform to bring together ITU resources to address our own innovation problems or opportunities across the 3 bureaus of the ITU and the Secretariat, so that we can serve our members better and create more effective and impactful products and services. Now, I wanted to mention that because this is a feature that can be applied externally as well, where a country or a set of partners may have a particular innovation challenge within their own structure, and where a design thinking process in an impartial and safe space can be used to help address those challenges. So we're very open for iCODI to serve as an internal change agent in some regards. The second track, though, is really related to more about innovation itself, and how can iCODI help our constituents, our members, our partners address challenges they are facing based on ICT telecom innovation. And again, the key is that we draw on the entire network of ITU solution providers and experts to help faster, better, cheaper create solutions to some of those challenges related to connectivity, to digital transformation, some of the newer technologies that are emerging. Next slide. So some of the ways that iCODI accomplishes this, we try to summarize this on one slide as 4 sets of services that iCODI will have as part of its core toolbox, and that this is the way that we would allow those different use cases to be addressed. So first of all, sense making and exploration. What that means is being able to be on the leading edge using group thinking processes, boot camps, foresight, intelligence to understand and get a sense of what's out there, what are some on the edge ideas, and how can they be applied to innovation challenges. Solution mapping, that is a process of how we can take multiple ideas that come from different people quickly and develop some potential solutions based on that. Experimentation, so the philosophy of iCODI is to try things out, be ready to fail, keep trying new things, but don't be locking yourself into one solution too quickly, but having a very fluid nature of how you address the different challenges. And the final category here, anticipatory regulation. Really, we want to draw on the core strength of the ITU, which is our relationship with the regulators and the standards associations across our member states. And this is really a core strength of iCODI, because as we know, innovation can't happen in the telecoms ICT space unless you have regulation that can be also mobile and agile. And the concept of creating sandboxes, there are some great sandboxes already in the region. Regulatory sandboxes to test different things in a safe space, it would be a key service that iCODI can bring. Since the design phase of iCODI finished, we've really been focusing, as I described, the 2 tracks on some of the internal ITU challenges. So let me go to the next couple slides to just summarize what we've done so far. Late last year, as part of our design phase of the iCODI, we actually launched a youth challenge. Some of you may have heard about that, and some of your youth in your countries may have been involved, because we created a challenge, a use case, on how can ITU better communicate more effectively with and for youth. That was the challenge question, because we at ITU ourselves wanted to be able to more effectively engage with our youth community. And so we used a process where we had 8 different teams across the world, youth across the world, come together, all virtually. We were also virtual, like all of us have been. So you have some screenshots of some of the work. And over the course of a 3-week period, with a lot of preparation beforehand, we ran through a very quick series of potential ideas, and we actually settled on one of the teams where I'm very pleased to report just a few weeks ago, the idea that team presented that was chosen as the winner of the challenge, which was to create an annual global video pitch competition by young people around the world related to ICT challenges. That competition officially launched a few weeks ago and recently closed. So this is an example of where iCODI could quickly bring together people around the world, different views, and come up with some solutions quickly to what was, in this case, a challenge related to youth. The next slide is another example of where we use the iCODI platform during the World Telecom Development Conference, the WTDC regional preparatory meeting process. So I'm sure some of you have engaged with the various activities that took place earlier this year to define the regional agenda for our big ITU World Telecom Development Conference that will be taking place next year. We actually used the iCODI platform in 2 of our RPM preparatory workshops, one in the Arab states and one in the Caribbean, where again, through a very fast design thinking based collaborative process, the iCODI platform helped prioritize some of the key issues that would be important for that region. We'll go to the next slide. So those are 2 examples of use cases. So how does a challenge work? Just a bit of, without getting into too much detail, but conceptually, any challenge always needs a sponsor, and that sponsor typically could be an internal sponsor within the ITU, but as we go more and more to some of the track 2 types of challenges, external challenges, then a co-sponsor would be an external partner. So of course, having a sponsor means that any challenge you undertake has the chance to be implemented. The worst is to do an exercise that the iCODI process will develop some solutions, but nothing happens. So it's very important to have sponsors and external partners where applicable. Then there has to be a unit or a team that's responsible to see the challenge through, be part of the design of the challenge, and that's the challenge owner. And then the challenge team could be multidisciplinary. So you bring the different perspectives, but also have a team to implement the challenge. I'm going to move to then quickly now 3 potential examples of how iCODI could work in the Asia Pacific region. So the next slide, the first is a regional connectivity challenge. There could be, for example, well, there are challenges, we know this in the ITU, on how do you deliver that last mile connectivity in many of the remote areas or hard to reach areas. So an example of an ITU use case could be to design a regional wide challenge on connectivity. And how can we quickly bring together and rapidly bring together experts, academia, investors, solution providers from across the spectrum based on the particular challenge to identify potential solutions and go through a process, a boot camp process, where you can bring everyone together with the regulators. This is where the role of a regulator to be part of those discussions, to be able to give permission that, yes, we were willing to try this particular technology on a pilot basis, bringing everyone together very quickly, come out with some potential solutions, and even move to some sort of implementation or test implementation in an interested member state where the government is fully supporting the experiment. Go to the next slide. Another example of an iCODI feature could be to create an ongoing observatory and tracking of new technologies. And again, leveraging the network of ITU experts and academic partners, the work of the study groups, also again, the impartiality and the neutrality of the ITU gives a place for us to, as a community, track these emerging technologies. Where are they along the spectrum of implementation? Are they something that we need to be monitoring only because it's already been rolled out? Or is it something that's emerging and we need to be ready to react to, which may lead to some challenges, which may lead to a particular government to say, well, I need to understand how that emerging technology is going to impact my country. I like iCODI to help us come out with regulatory approaches in a very fast way, different options that I need to consider to be able to address that emerging technology. The next slide. Another final example we just give is, again, leveraging the ITU platform to create a regional regulatory sandbox. And we're very aware that there's already some great examples of sandboxes in the Asia Pacific region. We listed here the Singapore Autonomous Vehicle Initiative. There are, of course, different kinds of sandboxes across the world, starting on the far left from the UAE, the Dubai, Thailand, as well, the NBTC sandbox. We believe this is very applicable for an ICODI function in the Asia Pacific region. Again, drawing on the fact that we have all of the member states engaged, all of the regulators, community engaged, as well as the experts in the academia. And it would be a potential great opportunity for ICODI to be a place where there can always be some region-wide places to track the different emerging trends and apply and create a space for regulators to try different things and see how they could be applied. So I'll turn to the next slide to re-summarize ICODI, and again, really drawing on the strengths of the ITU. Access to the deep technical expertise and experience, not just from the ITU experts, but of course across the community. Build on our extensive network of innovators to actually create solutions, testing those solutions, drawing on our strengths and our relationships with the regulators. And of course, ultimately, the goal is to increase the impact of development solutions better, faster, cheaper. So last slide is just to invite us to continue this discussion. If we can move to the last slide. And I've also put into here the website of our ICODI page. There's the video that we just played is on there, a bit more information on some of the concepts I just presented. And we're looking forward to seeing how ICODI could be rolled out in the Asia Pacific region. I'll stop there, and I think that leaves us lots of time for both Asuko and me for any questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wong, for that overview of ICODI, and especially the two example implementations that you talked about. We'll now open the floor for audience interaction, and I'll request Calvin to help us with the questions that the audience might have at this point of time.
Thank you so much, Bindu. And I was actually wondering whether we could play the YouTube video that we were trying to play earlier from Ms. Atsuko-san's presentation before we get to Q&A.
Yeah, we could do that. Asif, do we have the link now? Asif Shifali, if we can help with that link and run that video.
Yeah, I think I get in WhatsApp. Just let me slow.
ITU movers connect the world. The ITU family has grown to deliver on the promise of the digital economy. With 100
I think the sound's gone.
Yes, Calvin, the sound is not clear, but I think the video itself is quite self-explanatory. Thank you, Asif, for running the video. We apologize. The conference tool does not allow playing sounds inside the video if it is not preloaded. But I think the video was quite self-explanatory, and we did get an idea of the messaging that the video was trying to convey. Back to you, Calvin, for handling the Q&A.
Perfect, and thank you so much, Ms. Bindu, for running the video, and Mr. Asif as well. So the first question is regarding whether there is any plan or proposal to potentially have an ITU office in India. And so I would like to direct this question more broadly to this panel in case there's any interventions that could be made in this regard. So over to the speakers.
Thank you. Calvin. Mr. Shakia, please.
No, ma'am, if you are replying, I'm more than happy. If you want, then afterwards I will supplement if anything is left.
Actually, I was planning to give the floor to you. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We are happy to share that the regional office of ITU and BDT is going to be offered by India. The site visit and the other aspects have been seen by the ITU team. We are in the process of obtaining the administrative approval, which may take little time because since it is an international office and having many things related to protocols, tax relaxations and all, the process needs the approval of the cabinet itself. So the government cabinet is going to decide on the decision, which has been worked out together by ITU and India. And I'm sure very soon you will find an announcement that that approval is through, and then the due process of signing the agreement will take place. I hope that will answer the question made by my friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shakia, for your intervention in that regard. The next question is regarding engagement with the ITU. The questioner notes that the engagement for the ITU is normally through membership, and they want to know more about how civil society organizations and SMEs, or SMEs, like digital startups, can engage with the ITU to benefit from capacity building and standardization efforts. So I believe perhaps Ms. Okuda, that would be the first question to you.
Thank you, Calvin, and this is an excellent question. Let me just start with the capacity development part. As I mentioned, the Academy platform is open to everyone, and many courses are offered free of charge. Some courses charge a nominal fee. So I hope that this platform will be useful for civil society as well as SMEs widely globally. And additionally, there are other training courses which are offered from time to time on specific topics. And I hope that many SME and civil society participants attending this information session will be able to join and benefit from those courses the ITU offers. And regarding the innovation specifically, and I would like to refer back to Alex, my colleague, because as he suggested in the 3 examples, as well as the challenge, I believe that it doesn't really limit and restrict the participation only through membership. So civil society as well as the SMEs who have the knowledge, expertise, and solutions should be able to benefit from the initiatives. So perhaps I can give the floor to my colleague Alex to elaborate a little bit more on how best the SMEs and civil society can participate in this process.
Yeah, thank you, Tsuko. I think the intent of ICODI is to recognize our members and make sure they receive some privileged priority or privileged access. Perhaps the members can be the ones that have to be involved in submitting a challenge. But the idea of iCode is to be a very open platform, because the more open it is, the better the solutions are that can be developed. And this is very much, I think, a tactic to design how iCode will work in the region when we roll it out. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much,
And
Alex.
thank you, Calvin. I also want to share some of the examples of how we are engaging with the civil society and SMEs in digital inclusion efforts, such as Girls in ICT Day event and Equals. We work very closely with the leading SMEs and tech companies who can offer and support the girls and young women to be sensitized on the benefits of pursuing the STEMs and ICT career. So we have involved the startups, and we showcased the examples in Thailand as well as in Bangladesh. So I hope that these will be an additional avenues for collaboration and engagement with civil society and SMEs specifically. And I can also give additional examples of how ITU is engaging with them. But I hope that these will give hints and the pointers on how and where we can collaborate with SMEs and civil society. Thank you. Back to you, Calvin.
Thank you very
Mr.
much,
Kelly,
Atsuko-san and Mr. Yes, absolutely, Mr. Shakya.
may I supplement if you don't mind?
Absolutely. Thank you,
For
Mr.
all
Shakya.
the Indian participants, what I would like to welcome them, that they can do participate through the national working groups in the different sectors, whether it's a T sector, D sector, or the radio sector. So if they have any specific, they are most welcome to join Government of India, and they can be very well integrated part of our plans. They can contribute directly under the specific national working units, study groups, and that can go as a contribution to the ITU, and I'm sure then the ITU will take care of the contribution based on its merits and other considerations. So they are welcome to join Government of India in any of the national working groups and the study groups where we can have direct contributions made up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shakya, for your kind intervention in this regard. I don't believe I see any more questions in the chat. So I believe that at this point in
Mr.
time,
Kelvin, can I add something?
we can. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Kelvin.
Mr. Babu.
Yeah, I mean, I want to, compliment again what Wong and Okuda and Mr. Shakya shared. I come from innovation perspective. Okay, if you look at the challenge or the input from the industry members, now in the ITU structure we are having focus groups, and we have got structure of study groups where the questions which are standard problems and statements which have been identified, where there is a ongoing work. And focus groups looks at the new areas of work which are undefined, unrelated, but it's a create kind of new problem areas where certain innovative inputs and work is required. Maybe perhaps down the line they may turn into part of the study groups. So when I come from the innovation perspective, what we have seen in when we engage with Indian startups and SMEs, we see that there is a lot of value for cloud knowledge sourcing. Okay, what I say, when you do the we have certain social media platforms as well as engagements with SMEs, from crowdsourcing this knowledge from the SMEs and startups in identifying the solutions pain points. Perhaps there's a long way where they can become real solutions and as well as a part of standardization process, but involving them, as Alex mentioned about how we can bring in the startups and SMEs. Trust me, unlike the established processes, innovators have got different way of thinking in addressing the day-to-day problems. Okay, perhaps there is an opportunity for us to build and strengthen more on crowd knowledge sourcing, with regard to this innovative practices across the world. That's going to add a lot of value. This is my what I should say initial reaction. And of course, I mean, down the line, offline, we can share with more practices, what we have been doing, where we saw real value, how these innovators think and how in turn they contribute to established companies. That's the reason if we see that lot of M&As, merger and acquisitions happen by the bigger companies to the small greenfield new companies with new solutions, because they have got unrestricted freedom as well as more liberal thoughts about in unconventional way in addressing the issues. Yes, it's a great opportunity to work through these formal as well as informal channels to strengthen the objectives of ITU. This is my submission and input. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babu, for your kind intervention in this regard. And I believe this has given us a lot of food for thought. Unless there are any final comments from Ms. Okuda or Mr. Wong as well in this regard, I believe we can turn the floor back over to Ms. Bindu, if that is okay with everyone. So in that case, Ms. Bindu, the floor is yours again.
Thank you, Calvin, and thank you, expert panelists, for your comments. We now come to the end of today's webinar.